What's up, Amazon sellers? Working 4 hours a week whilst growing my Amazon business. How did I do it? Well, quite simply, that is because of VAs, virtual assistants. And in this video today, I'm going to share with you what is a virtual assistant and how VAs have added value to my business. Stay tuned. Right, if you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson, and I've been selling on Amazon now doing online arbitrage for the last 5 years. We've got 2 Amazon businesses, one in the UK and one in the USA, and hopefully I'm going to expand and make that 3 in the near future. And if you're interested in learning how I'm doing it, what I'm doing and what I'm learning, do make sure you hit the subscribe button, follow my journey in more detail, and be notified about when I release a new video. Now, enough about me. What are we going to go through today? Well, first things first, number 1, I'm going to go through what is a virtual assistant. Number 2, I'm going to talk about how to actually get a virtual assistant within your business. And then finally, number 3, I'm going to talk about some personal advice, why VAs are the right step towards growing your business. Okay, so first things first, what is VA? Well, VA or a virtual assistant is an assistant who works for you virtually, i.e. they work online, generally remotely, probably in another country. But quite simply, whenever we talk about virtual assistants, the majority of the time we're going to be talking about something called, should we say, sourcing assistants. Now, basically, a VA, virtual assistant, will go out online and find me those Amazon arbitrage deals for me to buy low, resell high online for a profit. Now, you might be asking, how can a VA add value for your Amazon business? Let me tell you this. The process of, should we say, online arbitrage is buy low, resell high on Amazon for a profit. Now, finding those products to buy low, resell high on Amazon is like really looking for a needle in a haystack. Unfortunately, it's not like we make it out in the YouTube videos, and it is a time-consuming process. And this is something that can be ideally outsourced, or should we say delegated to someone else within your business. And if it's a virtual assistant within another country that is sourcing for you, that is going to really help you out as well. Now, VAs can focus on sourcing, should we say, full time, and they can get better on it while you're focusing on other parts of the business. And you know what? The VA is going to get faster and more efficient. Find you more deals. Now, this means it frees you up for your time to start working on your business and not in it. And that is really where we should get as business owners, not operators. Now, this will allow you to scale your business quicker and more efficiently because it is not only you working in the business, but is actually a team of people now working in that business towards a common goal, obviously getting results. Now, the net result of all of this is quite simply more deals. What does that mean? Well, it means more revenue, more sales, and as a result, more profits. Now, in my Amazon business, I've built what I'd probably call an army, a huge team of VAs to help source me. And that is because my Amazon business has really grown and we've seen it. And this is right now in the UK, we're doing more than 3 million in sales over the last 12 months. And in the USA, we've already passed 500 and we're about to break into the $1 million mark. Absolutely crazy. And all of that is over the last 12 months. Now, the one other thing which I will mention about VAs and the virtual assistant, and you might think, hey, you know what, Tom, I'd rather have staff within my own company or within my own country rather than someone online. Well, you know what? Let me tell you an advantage to the virtual part of the VA equation. Quite simply, because you're using a laptop, because you are communicating through online, number 1, they're going to be in different parts of the world. They can work on different time zones. Basically means that they can do work while you're sleeping. You wake up and carry on. But also, number 2, you can travel. I've lived in so many different places. Having an online business and having an online team gives me freedom to be anywhere in the world, and that is a real blessing. I'm so grateful for it. And I couldn't have done it if I didn't have VAs within my business. It would have made it a lot harder, should we say. I'm not saying couldn't, actually would have made it a lot harder, but having a virtual team has been a godsend. Okay, so question I want to ask you guys, if you're looking for a VA, let me know in the comments down below, and obviously I can let you some tips and tricks about getting a VA that's going to help you out. Drop it in the comments down below, drop a yes, and obviously I can get back to you. Now, if you're thinking about getting a VA, there are lots of things you need to consider for you. One of the big things is whether it is the right time for you within your business to hire a VA. Another thing would be where should you hire, how much should you pay, and what are the requirements you're looking for, and obviously all the other things about training. So let me kind of answer these one by one for you. So let's go through it now. Number 1, when should you hire a VA or virtual assistant? This is a little bit subjective, but for me and my personal opinion and what I recommend for the people I talk to is that quite simply, you should have about £4,000, maybe $5,000 in available spend. It could be on a credit card, it could be in cash, in your business to invest in the deals that your VA is going to find. Now, if you've got, should we say, really high ROIs, maybe you're sourcing like 50, 60, 70, 80%, you might be able to bring that down a little bit. But if you're doing much lower ROIs, talking like the 20s, even lower than that, then you probably want a lot more cash, maybe up to the 10,000 mark, because that is going to help you. Remember, you've got to buy the deals that the VA is finding, ship them into Amazon, get them sold, wait 14 days for the money to come back. Then you get the money back from Amazon, then you pay the VA, and then you want to have a profit after that. Be mindful. Now, I have heard it time and time again from people who've got their first VA and said, I wish I'd done it sooner. They answer the question, when should you get a VA? And they said 6 months ago. Why? Because quite simply, this is going to say that number one, it adds so much value. And number two, it takes time to get that value. Just like hiring anyone, just like you in your first job, you don't start day one and you're on like, wow, you're on fire, you know exactly what you're doing, you're delivering great results. It takes time to ramp them up, but once you've got them up and they're doing great results, oh my God, I should have hired 6 months ago. That is what they're saying. So keep that in mind. Now, the next question is where to find a virtual assistant. Think about the word virtual. They can be anywhere in the world, like literally anywhere. Now, generally speaking, you probably wouldn't want to be hiring a virtual assistant from a country which has a very high cost of living. Why? Because obviously the virtual assistant is going to need a lot more money to afford to live in that country where they came from. For example, if you're going to hire a virtual assistant in New York for your everyday tasks, that's probably going to not be advantageous, as it might be, should we say, hiring them from somewhere else where the cost of living is a lot less. Obviously, you're going to be making savings on those salary payments that you make to them, and that's going to really help your business as well. Now, for me and my team, I built a huge team of VAs and virtual assistants supporting the business. They're working in my business full time, and I have purchasers, admin VAs, and even operations managers. All of them are from the Philippines. Why? Because quite simply, the cost of living here is far less than what it would be in the UK, and even in the United States. As a result, our wage bill is a lot lower than what we'd have to pay within the UK or the United States or even New York. And this works for both sides. For us as a company, we're saving money on our wage bills, but for the VAs, the people working in the Philippines, it's a great wage relative to what they are earning within their country. And that is the benefit that's going to help not only them, but also the business. And it means we can employ more people and get more work done for the same amount of money. And that's something that's a real benefit to obviously the country, but also the business as well. Now, the third one is how much should you pay your VA? Now, quite simply, when we're talking about something like sourcing VAs, we're going to go online and we're going to find deals about your sourcing VAs for your online arbitrage business. You're probably going to be looking around about $3 per hour, which is probably going to translate to about 25,000 pesos you are going to be looking at for your sourcing VAs. Now, while in the UK, if we talk about it on a monthly basis, we might talk about, I think about £380 per month or £400 a month or about $500 per month. And that's based on a 40-hour working week. Now, one VA can work, full-time on average, and during that 40 hours will be 8 hours per day, and that'd be 5 days a week. Now, what I will say is that a full-time VA is going to really help grow your Amazon business. And why do I say full-time, not part-time? I do think part-time can help, but I think also as well that a full-time VA is really going to help more. Why? Because they are full-time working on your business and they're working towards your business success, and that's going to recognize them and they're going to grow as well. Whereas part-time, they're going to be split across multiple companies or multiple businesses, which might not have the same, should we say, cost benefit. So I'd really recommend full-time. That's something that I do within my business. Everyone is full-time. Now, if you are looking for only a VA, which is based on pay, like some people do like the number of deals submitted, they look at that option and that's one that people consider, then what I'll do is I'll leave a video up here about the difference between a full-time and pay per deal VA, pros and cons. Check that out, and it has some really good arguments for both sides. Might help you make a decision. Check out that video now. Now, this leads me nicely on to what should you look for in a VA when you're hiring. What I'll do is I'll share with you what we've learned from the FastTrackFBA VA Academy. This is quite simply a service I created whereby we find, hire and train VAs for an Amazon business. And we've done over 600 VAs that we've placed with our clients, which is absolutely insane. And it's really good, but we've learned so much. So let's kind of go through the points that we look for when we are hiring a VA for our business. So let's check this out now. So first things first, it'll be character. I've learned and I've seen, and my team has seen time and time again, that regardless of how much training and support and development you put in, if you hire the wrong person, it doesn't matter. Get the right person and it makes all the difference. So in regards to the character, here's the things that you really want to be looking out for when you are interviewing, looking for the right person. Number one, trustworthiness. And of course, this is going to make sure that you can trust your VA. Past instances from their job whereby they've showed trustworthiness in who they are. The second one is professionalism within the workplace. Now, you should be looking for a VA who is very professional in their work, such as they don't allow any disturbances in their work, like personal problems. Their work ethic is super important. And also, since your VA works for you, you want to have that professional relationship as well. So look for examples of that. Ask your VA for it. Number 3, time management. Time is one of the most valuable assets we have, and you want to make sure that your VA can manage their time effectively, especially during peak seasons like Q4. Now, as you can see, you need to make sure your Amazon business is operating as efficiently as possible, and one way to make sure of this is that your VA is managing proper time management, which is especially important even if you're in different time zones. Something to think about there. Now, the fourth one is patience. Finding deals online is not easy. I think we all know that. Sourcing requires a lot of patience. With that being said, your VA is going to have to work long hours browsing multiple websites, looking for stores to find those needles in the haystacks. Now, the fifth one is open to feedback. And of course, your VA's performance will not be perfect. Like, my God, no one's is perfect in any job when they first start. And now with this being in mind, they've got to be open to feedback, i.e. they are listening to the feedback you are giving them, they're taking it on board, and they're adapting their sourcing, their work ethic, their work strategy to listen to that feedback and obviously implement it. Something super important there. Now, those are the 5 characteristics we're looking for when we're hiring a VA. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is skills. Skills are very important when looking for a VA. But that being said, the skills are going to make or break the results that you get from them. So what are we looking for in the skills? Number 1, English language proficiency. Your VA is going to be virtual. They could be from anywhere in the world. And now English is going to be super important because that's the language that you are going to be talking to them. And if they can't understand your English language, well, how are you going to be able to communicate with them? Google Translate is great. Trust me, you really do not want to be doing training with Google Translate. So the higher proficiency in English language, the easier it's going to be to communicate. And obviously the easier they're going to understand what they need to know. Keep that in mind. The next one, computer literacy. Now, your VA is going to be working virtually online. They're going to need to be familiar with the computer, but also have good skills with it. This isn't basic skills like, how to turn it on and off again. They've also got to be able to use spreadsheets. They've got to be able to install Chrome extensions. The better they are at their computer, the faster they're going to be. And time is money in this equation. The more deals you can analyze per hour, statistically speaking, it's going to be a net result of how many deals you find, which are going to be profitable. Think about that. Now, the third skill we're looking for is attention to detail. Now, this is super important. The last thing you want to do is have a great deal found by your VA or lots of great deals and they're all mismatches. So we want to make sure that your VA has really high attention to detail, inspecting every little thing on that product, checking the supplier store and the Amazon store, making sure that attention to detail is really high and that product fits your own deal criteria. Something super important there. Now, the final area I want to talk about in regards to the VA and what you want to look at in hiring is around resources. Now, you want to make sure your VA has the right resources available for them to source deals, because this is again going to impact the results. So let's talk about some resources that you really want to know. Well, the first one, I hope it goes without saying, but let's just state the obvious. They're going to work virtually. They need a computer. Now, of course, a VA cannot work without a computer or a laptop. And you want to make sure that it has a good spec. For us within the VA Academy, we generally look for about an 8GB RAM and an i5 or above. And that's to make sure that they can run multiple browsing tabs, their computer, the Chrome extensions, and obviously do that quickly. Now, the second resource we're going to be looking for is a stable internet connection. Now, this is super important. Always remember that they're going to have to do it virtually. It's going to happen online. And if they're located in a different country, they're going to need to connect to the web stores, finding those products. And if their internet connection is cutting out in time or maybe cutting out during your calls, how are you going to communicate? That just can't happen. So you need that stable internet connection. That is something super important and something that I always look for when I'm doing recruitment myself. And I think you too should as well. Okay, so right now I'm talking about what you need to look for in a VA. And there's so much I've gone through. And the one thing which I'll say is there's a lot to consider here and a lot of things to check for. And then not only you've got to check for that across all the different people you're interviewing, obviously you've got to get it right. And we talk about like trustworthiness, ability to attention to detail. These things are hard. Like, my God, like it's quite easy to ask someone, are you trustworthy? Do you have good attention to detail? And they're obviously going to say yes. Doesn't necessarily mean they are. You've got to test for it. You've got to prove it. And if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter how good your training is, it isn't going to make a difference. Now, the one thing which I'll say is I mentioned it earlier, we've trained over 600 sourcing VAs for our clients and we've had over 300 clients. Why? If you look at the stats, generally most clients come back for a second VA. You can see that with our numbers. 300 clients, 600 VAs. Why? Because it works and our service works really well. Now, if you are thinking about hiring a VA, of course you can do it yourself, but what I would say, do consider looking at the FastTrackFBA VA Academy. This is a service I created whereby we find, hire and train virtual assistants for your business. Now, what we do, this takes about a week to get them up to speed, and then after that, we'll support them for 12 weeks within your business, getting results. And if you have any problems, I mean any problems, literally just drop us an email, drop us a message, and we will have an aftercare team jump on one-to-one training with your VA, getting them up to speed. Now, quite simply, you can book a free 30-minute call with my team to discuss it and see if this is going to be the right option for you. Have a look at the link down below, and this is going to really help you out. Trust me, if you are thinking about leveling up your Amazon business for Q4, or hey, any season, you need a team, and hiring VAs can build that team out amazingly. Trust me, I know it. I've done nearly 4 million in sales this year. I couldn't have done it without my team. Check it out, FastTrackFBA VA Academy. I'll drop the link down below. Now, this leads me nicely onto my third chapter, personal advice about VAs and if they're the right step to grow your business. There are lots of ways to grow your business, and I do know a lot of people who are doing it on their own, and that is absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. But the one thing which I will always say to that is you just have a really expensive job. That's it. You know, it's a really stressful and expensive job. At the end of the day, we're here to build a business. And remember, Tom is not a business and you are not a business. You are a business owner. You own a business. You know, you own a limited company, an LLC. But generally, a business is something which should be able to run without you. It's a way of working. It's people working together, which deliver, should say, an output, a result. And really what you're thinking about is that should be able to work when you're not there. I say it to my team all the time. I am the biggest liability in my business. If I go sick, if I'm ill, if something happens to me, potentially this business fails. And the more I can extract myself, the more I can hire people to get in that business and replace me, the less of a liability I become. And you know what? What we've seen over the last 2 years, and if you follow my journey, we've become more and more successful. And you know what the funny thing is? I've worked less and less, which is absolutely incredible. I'm making more money now than I did 2 years ago, and I'm working less hours for it. Why? Because we have built a team. Think that is the fundamental. Don't see Jeff Bezos in the warehouse packing the boxes. No, he built a team, and all successful business people need to understand you need to build a team. And that is what I'll say for you. And I think for you, that's the thing I'd be saying. Otherwise, you do just have a really expensive job. That's all I'll say. Now, what I will say is having a VA is definitely going to help you grow your Amazon business. And just look at the other people, you know, all the big sellers, they all have built a team. Maybe not with VAs, but they've all got a team with them. And the one thing you need to make sure, whether it be VAs or a team, is you need to make sure you're able to pay them. And how do you make sure you pay them? Well, you've got cash in the bank. And what does that mean? You need to be managing your cash flow correctly. So what I'll do is I'll leave a video around here about my exact cash flow process. And there is a sheet on there that we use every single business to max, or every single week, maximize the cash flow. Check that out. I think you're going to love it. But what I will say is hopefully you've liked this video. If you have, give me a big thumbs up. And hey, if you want to see more, do hit the subscribe button down below. But for myself, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.